How's your day so far? Today we'll be doing our grade 3 English lesson on subject verb agreement. So we'll be doing our grade 3 English lesson on subject verb agreement. All right. So before we start with our lesson on subject verb agreement, I want us to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged into aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our passwords, and then we select the subject of language arts. Language art, and then grade 3. Once we have selected the subject of language arts, grade 3, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of subject verb agreement. Subject verb agreement. All right, so our chapter is subject verb agreement. Our subject is English, which is also language arts, grade 3. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of subject verb agreement is the subject singular or plural? To use the correct subject or verb, and pronoun verb agreement. So this is going to be our chapter subject and the lessons that we're going to be focusing on today. And we are doing our lesson on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so we are doing our lessons on aplusstudents.ca. Okay, so we're going to start with first what is a singular subject as well as a plural subject, especially for our first lesson, which is a subject singular or plural. And we're going to find out what we mean by is a subject singular or plural. The subject. And the subject is usually either someone that does the action, or the subject is, for example, the noun that does the action or do the action, right? So we are going to see if it is singular, meaning it's referring to one person, or if it's plural, referring to more than one person. All right, so a singular subject, right? It names only one person, or it names one animal, or one place, or one thing. So when a subject is singular, right? And then we use a singular verb. So when a subject is singular, then we use a singular verb, meaning that it's referring to one specific person, right? Doing one action. So a singular verb, right? It usually ends in s, es, or ies. And that is what we mean also when we say that when a subject is singular, then we use singular verbs, meaning that verb that ends in s, es, or ies. And if we look at an example, right, of a singular subject, then it says Sarah visits her grandmother. So Sarah visits her grandmother. So which means that our singular subject refers to Sarah, which is basically one person, and visits is the singular verb that ends in s. So this is the singular subject, and visits is a singular verb. So which means that Sarah refers to a singular subject, verb is a singular, visits is a singular verb, her grandmother. It basically tells us what Sarah does. So Sarah, she visits her grandmother. Now, the second one is my cat. My cat. This is our subject. Washes her paws. So what does the cat do? The cat washes. So this is our verb, our singular verb. And we see that a singular subject has a singular verb that ends in s, es, or ies. So which means that if we have a singular subject, right, one person, then we will basically see that our verb will either end, like we say, in s, es, or ies. So that is basically our singular subjects. Now we have our plural subject, right? Our plural subject. And a plural subject, it refers to more than one person, animal, place, or thing. A plural subject refers to more than one person, place, animal, or thing. And when a subject is plural, we use a plural verb. And plural verbs, it does not end. Plural verbs usually do not. And when we say do not end in s, es, or ies. Remember, plural singular verbs ends in s, es, or ies. For example, if we look at our plural subject, then it's Kyle and Jesse. These are two people that is doing something. So this is a subject. Kyle and Jesse is the subject, right? Oopsie. So they are the subject. And what do? They walk. This is the verb. They walk home. And as you can see, it does not end in a S or ES or IAS. And then we have another one, which is the flowers. The flowers. This is our subject that we are talking about. They grow in the garden. So what does the flowers do? They grow. So this is our verb. And as we can see, once again, there is no S, no ES or IES that is added to that verb. So that is basically our singular subject or plural subject. That's our singular as well as plural subject. And we made also examples. And once again, singular subjects, it only names one person, animal, place, or thing. Whereas a plural subject, it names more than one person, animal, place, or thing, right? And a when it comes to a singular subject, right? When a singular subject is when a subject is singular, then we use a singular verb, and when the subject is plural, we use a plural verb. And with using a plural verb, it does not end in SES or IES. Whereas with a singular verb, it ends in SES or IES. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And we're going to our first lesson on is the subject singular or plural. And this is basically what we just went over. So we're just going to go over a few activities and then do the test. So now it says, look at the underlined word. We need to say if it is singular or if it is plural. It says the train arrives at the station in 20 minutes. So the train. And the train, we must say if it's singular or plural. And the train is basically only referring to one train, which means that this is singular. Right? That is singular. And then if you look at number 2, it says, look at the underlined word, which is a small brown monkey. Scratches its head with its hand. And monkey, it refers to a singular subject. And Miss Henderson, Miss Henderson coaches the girls' soccer team at school. And Miss Henderson also refers to one specific person. And yes, thank you. All are singular. Well done. So all of them are singular, referring to only one person doing something. Now we're going to a test where we are going to say if the subject is singular or plural. We need to look at the underlined word. So Dad and I, we share a small pizza for lunch. Dad and I. Is Dad and I only referring to one person or is it referring to more than one person? So Dad and I, is it singular or is it plural? We share a pizza for lunch. Dad and I. Dad and I. As I say, me and Dad. So Dad and I, yes, it is plural because it refers to two people, right? Which is me and Dad that shares a pizza. So well done. The train arrives at the station in 20 minutes. The train arrives at the station in 20 minutes. So the train is referring to one train or more than one train, meaning is it singular or is it plural? So the train is it singular or plural? All right, so we can say the train is singular. It refers to one train. And the teachers, they order books and games online. Teachers order books and games online. Is teachers singular or plural? So teachers, the teachers. Guys, you are not being focused. So the teachers, it refers to more than one teacher. So which means it is plural. And then dad adds extra sugar to the cake batter. Dad adds extra sugar to the cake batter. So dad, is dad singular, meaning we're only talking about dad, or plural? And yes, dad is singular. So well done. Logan makes apple bars for the cake sale. Apple bars. So Logan, is Logan singular or plural? So Logan is singular. All right. So that is our singular subject or plural subject. Now we're going to use the correct subject or verb. We need to use the correct subject or verb. It says, our neighbor in plays in the city. What does somebody do when they are in plays or in theater or so on? Then what do they do? So if they are in plays, they are in theater, what do they do on the stage? So it says that we need to say if it is a, we need to complete the sentence with the base verb. And yes, if somebody's in theater or they're in a play, then they act. So our neighbor acts, right? Because a singular subject has a singular verb that either ends in s, es, or ies. So acts with an s also, right? So acts with an s. We need to look at a subject. Coaches Derek's basketball team. And here we can say basically my dad. But you can basically use any name. So my dad refers to a singular subject. And then we need to select the verb. Sasha and Anna. This is plural verb. They pictures in art class. So if you're in art class, what do you do with the pictures? So Sasha and Anne, it refers to a plural subject, and a plural subject needs to have a plural verb. And yes, it is they draw. So Sarah and Anne draw pictures in art class. Now we're going to the test where we need to complete the sentence with the base verb. And we said Sasha and Anne, they will say they draw in class or they draws in class. Sasha and Anna. Is a drawer or draws in class. Yes, so which means that a plural subject needs to have a plural verb and it does not end in ses or ies. So draw. So Mrs. McGee, do we say arrange or arranges many fun events at school? So arrange or arranges many fun events at school. And remember, we need to have a singular subject refers to a singular verb. So a singular subject refers to a singular verb. Yes, and it's arranges because we see that a singular verb it ends in ses or ies. So the second one is correct. So well done. Bend wire into circles for Nicholas. Is it the girls bend wires into circles for Nicholas or Bella bend wire into circles for Nicholas? So we say that if you have a singular subject, that it is followed by a singular verb, and a singular verb it ends in I, in S, ES, or IES. So if it bend, then it means that Bella, Bella bend, not Bella, the girls, sorry. So the girls bend wire into circles for Nicholas. So it's the girls. Well done. Coaches Derek's basketball team. Is it my dad coaches Derek's basketball team or Mr. and Mrs. coaches Derek's basketball team? So coaches. So I will say, or we will say, my dad coaches Derek's basketball team. Singular verb, singular subject. And then the visitors, do they listen carefully to the guide or listens carefully to the guide? So the visitors, do we say they listen carefully to the guide or listens carefully to the guide? And we will say that the visitors, they listen. They listen carefully to the guide. And we said the visitors, they listen carefully to the guide. So well done. And now do we say, my sisters pour water for everyone at the table? Or your mom pour water for everyone at the table? So we can say, my sisters, they pour water for everyone at the table. So our neighbor refers to one. X in place in the city. Well done. So now we're going to pronoun verb agreement. Pronoun verb agreement. And the subject and the verb in a sentence, they must agree. So the subject and the verb, they must agree with one another. It says the subject pronoun, which is she, he, and it, they name only one person or thing, which means that they are singular. Because she, he, or it is only referring to one person or animal, for example, or thing. And when the subject is singular, we use a singular verb. And singular verbs end in s, es, or ies. And for example, instead of example mentioning a name Ben watches the neighbor's baby, we can say he, which we refer to Ben, watches the neighbor's baby. So he being our pronoun and watches being our verb, the neighbor's baby. And then we have it needs a new lock. It needs a new lock. So it is our pronoun and needs is our verb. a new lock. And then we have a subject pronouns and with that ends in that's we and they, right? And this refers to more than one person. The subject verb, so the subject pronoun, sorry, which is we and they name more than one person or thing, which means that they are plural. And the pronoun you can be singular, but it can also be plural. You can refer to it being singular, but it can also be plural. And when the subject is singular, we use a singular verb. And when it's plural, in this case, we use a plural verb. And plural verbs, it does not end in ses or ies. It doesn't. For example, we referring to more than one person. We walk, which is the verb, home. So we walk home. And then they, referring to more than one person, they finish early. And as you can see with walk and finishes, there's no S, no ES or IES added. And we see the singular subject pronoun, which is I and you. They do not follow these rules, right? They name only I and you. They name only one person or thing, but they should also be used with a plural verb. So I and you needs to be used with a plural verb. So we say that a singular subject pronoun, it does not follow rules. For example, you sing better than I do. And we say the singular subject pronoun, I and you, it does not follow any rules. And if we look at this one example, you sing better than I do. So as much as you refer to one person, right? It says sing better than I do. Sing better than I do. And then also if we look at the word I close windows at night. And that is also referring to a singular subject, singular pronoun. All right, let's go to our test. So we're going to our test where we need to complete the sentence with the best subject pronoun. And the subject pronoun is either going to be singular or it's going to be plural. Do we say he noticed the spill or we noticed the spill? So he noticed the spill or we noticed the spill? He noticed the spill or we noticed the spill? All right. And our correct subject pronoun is we notice the spill. Because remember, a plural subject needs to agree with a plural verb. And a plural verb does not end in ses or ies. And we is correct. So well done. It lists or list the answers. It lists or list the answers. And we can say it lists the answers. Lists referring to one person, right? And do we say they judge the contest or she judged the contest? They judge the contest or she judge the contest. So we can say they judge the contest. They judge the contest. Because remember, we said that a plural subject does not end like a plural subject with a plural verb. The plural verb does not end in ses or ies. And they nod or they nods at the driver. They nod or they nods at the driver. All right, so we can say they nod at the driver. All right, grade three, that is now the end of our lesson on subject verb agreement. We mentioned singular subjects as well as singular verbs, plural subject as well as plural verbs, right? And we said a singular subject needs to agree with a singular verb. And a singular verb, it ends in s, es, or ies, whereas a plural subject needs to agree with a plural verb and it does not end in s, es, or ies. So that is the end of our lesson, grade three. Thank you very much for joining the class. Goodbye.